Hello everyone. Guys, welcome to In the Garden with Joyful Living. Although you can see that I'm not in the garden now and it's January the 6th, so you might be wondering, what am I really talking about in the garden? Well, planting a garden requires a lot more work than what people realize, and it is something that is very rewarding, very fulfilling, but now is the time to start on certain things in the garden so that you have a nice harvest. Take for instance, today I'm going to be showing you how to start your sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes don't get put outside actually until May, but if you don't start your sweet potato slips now, May, it'll be too late to start them because sweet potatoes take 9 months, 8 or 9 months to fully develop. So we're going to start our sweet potatoes on today. Now, the method I am showing you, I didn't create it. I saw it on a YouTube video actually a couple of years ago, because there are a couple different ways you can start slips. One way, and the way that I've always known, was to put your sweet potato in water, grow the slips, then take the slips off, reroot them. It's a lot of work. It's a whole process. But this way, it's a much simpler process, but you get the same yield without putting in as much work, because we're busy. Everybody's life is busy. So I'm going to show you today. Chime in and let me know if you're watching. I'm trying to see if I can see the comments. I'm looking at a couple different devices. I'm trying something new because earlier this year, I started using one of the platforms that would allow me to go live on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. The problem with that is it would only let me use the camera on one side of my phone, but I need both. Hey, Keisha, thank you for joining us today. So today we are going to start our sweet potatoes. So if you're going to be starting things by seed, now is the time. Start now, because you don't want to try to start your tomatoes, your peppers, your sweet potatoes in March, April, or May, because one of two things are going to happen. One, either they're not going to have enough time to produce fruit, or it's going to be so late in the season when they start producing that you're not going to get much yield from it. So if you're going to start things from seed, and that would include your broccoli, your cabbage, all of your spring vegetables. If you're going to do it from seeds, now is the time to start. I actually had planned on starting some stuff in late December, but with all the holidays, just didn't happen, guys. Life gets away from you. So today I'm going to show you how I start my sweet potatoes. So first of all, I want to tell you, as a gardener, use what you have. Gardening can get expensive if you don't have any other supplies. So the way you curtail that is use what you have. So I'm using some things that I already have. I'm using this little pail or planter that came from the dollar store. And yes, I'm using my little bitty sweet potatoes. Do you remember in October, when I harvested my sweet potatoes, a couple of them were a little too small to actually peel and cook, but they are the perfect size to grow some slips from. So use the things that you already have. If you've got a flower pot that you're not utilizing anymore, sweet potatoes that are laying in your cabinet, potatoes that are laying in your cabinet, don't throw those things out. When they start to sprout, plant them. So we're going to use what we have. I've already cleaned and sterilized my bin, because you don't want to put fresh soil and plants in a pot that may have had some kind of parasite or some kind of disease from the last season. So you always want to make sure that you clean your pot out thoroughly so that you're not having the same issues with disease this season that you had last season. So it's really important. I have some potting mix here. Because I'm using actual potatoes, I'm using potting mix. But if I were planting seeds, I would be using seed starter, because it is a much lighter material and the seeds can push through it easier. But because I'm not working with seeds, I'm working with tiny potatoes, I'm using potting mix. Didn't really go into any detail about the particular brand. Doesn't matter what brand. You can get it from the Dollar Tree, Family Dollar. You can get it from Lowe's, Home Depot, wherever you like. But the one thing that I caution you about is, regardless of what brand you use or where you get it from, you always want to sterilize your soil some type of way. So I put my soil in the microwave because it'll kill any kind of eggs or any kind of insects that are already in it. Because again, regardless of what brand it is, I hear a lot of people saying this brand or that brand, but I've had brands of all kind to have gnats and the eggs and things of that nature in it. So you can either sterilize your soil by heating it in the microwave for a couple of minutes, or you can use a solution of excuse me. You can use a solution of peroxide and water, which will do the same thing, kill the bacteria and the things in the soil that you don't want. So I've already cleaned my bowl, cleaned my pot, I sterilized my soil. So the simplest way to start your sweet potatoes is put your soil, a little bit of soil, in your container. And evenly distribute it throughout the container. And take your potatoes. Hey, Sean, how are you? It's good to see you. Take your potatoes, my tiny little potatoes. I had more on the table than this, but I don't know what happened to them. And simply lay them, half bury them. Don't bury it completely at this point, but just half bury it. I'm going to lay both of them, and they're just like tucking them in the bed. And let's see if I can show you that. All I have, can you see that? My sweet potatoes just tucked in nicely. And that's it. That is essentially it to starting your sweet potatoes. Have some nice clean water here. I'm going to dampen the soil but not soak it. Because I like to use a technique where I put holes in the side instead of the bottom so that there's a reserve of water. But you have to be careful doing that because you don't want to overwater things. So I give it just a little bit of water. And now, over the next few weeks, I will watch as it begins to develop roots. As it develops roots, at some point, I will go ahead and cover the potatoes up completely. And that's it. In May, I'll take the soil, the potatoes, the vines, and the things that are in this pot and transfer them to my larger 15-gallon pot that I have outside. So, as I was saying earlier, for the gardeners, if you're going to be starting things by seed, start now. I have so many questions and people waiting to April or May and sometimes even June telling me they want to grow tomatoes. And then their next question is about starting seeds. And my response is, honey, it's too late to start anything by seed now because your plant has to go through a maturing process. Just like your children have to go through a maturing process, your seeds have to go through that same process. And if you start them in May, you're not going to yield anything by the time the season ends. Tomatoes are an annual plant. It only lives for one season. But starting now is not just about what the things that you're growing in your garden. It's about starting now with whatever thing that you've been putting off in your life. Today is January 6th of 2022. Can y'all believe it? 2022. It feels like we went to sleep and you woke up and you had lost a couple of years. Even in conversation, my cousin and I were like last year, and then we was like, no, we were actually talking about 2019. Hi, Pamela. We were actually talking about 2019, but it seems like we went to sleep and we woke up and it was a couple of years later because we've missed out on so much. But I'm entitled to starting now because whatever the thing is in your life that you're putting off, maybe you don't grow a garden, but there's something that you've been wanting to do that you have been putting off. Don't put it off any longer. We have, if nothing else, from 2020 and 2021, we've learned that life is fleeting. As the word teaches us, it's like a vapor. It's here today and it's gone tomorrow. People woke up that morning feeling fine, and by midnight that night, they were in the hospital on a respirator. So the things that you want to accomplish in your life, the things that you want to do in your life, I implore you, start now. Don't wait another day. If you made a goal or a resolution to start on January, let's say the 2nd, because so much of it involves eating and things of that nature. But here it is the 6th, and you haven't actually started yet. For one reason or another, you keep putting it off. You kept putting it off. Or if it's something that you started and you did not finish, pick it back up. It's not too late. So a perfect example of that is, y'all know, how old am I? I'll be 52 later this year. When I was in my 30s, I wanted to go back to college and get my degree. Not because I had these great aspirations about doing whatever is. I like to finish what I start. And I had started college right out of high school. Went to NC State for 2 years, left there, took some classes at A&T and North Carolina A&T State University. But here I was in my early to mid 30s, and I still hadn't finished my undergraduate degree because life had gotten in the way. Hey, Al Ray, life had gotten in the way. There are so many things that we start, but life happens. Life gets in the way. You change jobs. A spouse loses a job. Something's going, your kids are acting crazy, or God forbid you have a death in your family. But whatever happened, something caused you to stop whatever it is that you were working on. But so here I was in my 30s. I hadn't finished my degree, and I like to finish what I started. So I went to Mount Olive College and finished my bachelor's degree. And then I went on to Capella University and got a master's degree to give myself the satisfaction of knowing that I completed what I set out to do. So I'm begging you today, start now with whatever it was that you wanted to accomplish that you didn't get to, or something that you started working on and you stopped because life got in the way. As I said, things happen in life that will knock the wind out of you. That will knock you flat on your back. Unexpected things. But we have to keep getting up. No matter how many times you get knocked down, keep getting back up. Because the race is not over with until you quit. Hi, Tamia. But today is all about just start now. Whatever it is. If you're gardening and you're planting seeds, start now. If you want to go back to school, don't wait till next year. Start now. If you want to change careers, start taking the steps to do that now. Don't just like in June, just quit your job. Start preparing. That's what we're talking about today. We're preparing, we're planning, we're strategizing so that we can get to the next phase of the gardening season. It's still winter. It just, winter came in December the 23rd. Today is January the 6th. The spring gardening season won't start till late March or early April. But if we start now, then it ensures that we have a great harvest come July, August. And in the case of the sweet potatoes that I was showing you how to plant, or how I start mine, you'll have a great harvest come mid-October next year. Not next year, later this year. You'll have a good harvest. But if you don't start those sweet potatoes now, you're not going to yield anything. And I learned that my first year of gardening. I kept reading, started sweet potatoes in May. So that's exactly what I did. But when I got ready to dig them up, in October, they were teeny tiny little sweet potatoes, not big enough to peel. I couldn't have cut one if I had wanted to. So before I get off of here today, I want to leave you with a couple of scriptures. The first one is Proverbs 3 verses 5 and 6, and this is coming from the NIV, the New International Version. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and some translations say submit to him, and he will make your path straight. If the Holy Spirit is saying now, it's the time, don't delay. Start now. Hey Kay, start now. Plant your seeds now, and you will reap what you sowed. And that applies to your garden, to your education, to even when it comes to your children. When you plant seeds in them, it will reap a great harvest eventually. You may not see it today. They may be unruly teenagers, but when they are 25, 30, or maybe even 40, they may come back to you and say, I never forgot those words that you told me when I was a teenager. Didn't listen to it then, but I live by it now. You're reaping what you sowed. If you sow discord, and dishonesty, and distrust, you're going to reap that back too. Because people will stop to trust you. You'll lose relationships. It's all on, it's everything in life is a circle. It just goes, what comes around goes around. And then the other scripture that I want to leave you with is 2 Corinthians 5 and 17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone and the new is here. 2022 is a new year. 2020 and 2021 were devastating. And it's okay to acknowledge that it was devastating, but don't stay there. Don't stay in all the events, the mayhem, the craziness, the death of 2021. Don't stay in that grief. Don't stay in the pain, the hurt, the sorrow, the mistrust. God is doing something new in 2022. But in order for us to get the new things, we got to let the old things pass away. Now, in the case of going through grief or you lost loved ones, I'm not by any means saying to forget them and not discounting your grief. I lost my father in 2020. And that's been over a year ago, but it still feels like it was yesterday. But I made a decision early on that I was not going to stay in that grief. I will have my moments, but I don't want to take up residency there, because you'll look up and it's been 5 years and it's been 10 years and you're still stuck in the same place you were on the day they died. If you don't make a decision that I don't want to live without you, but I can live without you. I'm going to take the things, the love that we had, the things that I learned from you, and move forward with that. Hey, Amanda, I'm not going to wallow in all the events of 2020 and 2021. In 2022, God is trying to do a new thing. But don't miss the moment. Don't miss the season, because you're still looking behind you. He said he's doing a new thing. He's creating a new creature. Doesn't discount anything that happened. We've all been through a lot. We've suffered so many unimaginable losses of family members, friends, just devastating. Hey, Melinda. But God is doing something new in 2022. So whether it is a garden, your education, buying a home, getting a new car, whatever it is, I want you to start working on it now. And then in a few months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, maybe even 10 years, you'll be able to reap the harvest from the seed that you planted today. So guys, thank you for watching this edition of In the Garden with Joyful Living. I'll start doing videos more regularly, just to show you the progress and the things that I'm doing, but then it'll go back to a weekly basis once the spring garden has been planted. But guys, thank you again for watching, tuning in, and watching me plant or show you how I start my sweet potatoes. Start them indoors in January and now, so that in October of this year, you'll have sweet potatoes for your Thanksgiving sweet potato pies. Guys, I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.